Generally, why don't you give us those opinions regarding your viewing of the videotape and the use of force?
In my opinion, Detective Gomez should have never been there and interviewed the second time. He was obviously the catalyst or the cause of Mr. Love's being incited, being infuriated. There was no exigent circumstance to cause Detective Gomez to go into that room, and he should have never been there. Furthermore, the actions engaged by Detective Gomez in that second video, video number 2, are not in conformance with training and are, in my opinion, excessive.
Again, we'll do the same thing. We'll go through it on a slow version. You can tell me when to start and stop, and then discuss each instance that we have just talked about here. Okay?
Okay. We can go right back to the beginning. Okay. From the time the video starts, and if you don't start it yet, we're at 000. I see blood on the floor. I see blood on Mr. Love's shirt. I don't see any blood on the table. Now, reading previously given testimony of Detective Gomez, there was an articulation that Mr. Love was in fact spitting. I don't know if he was spitting at the detective or not, but I see blood towards the floor. I also see blood on his shirt, indicative of some type of blood loss due to some previous injury, either by focus strike. It could have been when he was put down towards the table, but then again, there's no blood on the table. I don't know where that blood came from, other than probably from Mr. Love.
We've got a situation now, and we saw that when we played this at full speed, where Ron Love is screaming out at Detective Gomez, "Take these handcuffs off me, I want to fight you," words to those effects. What is an officer supposed to do at that point in time when you have someone challenge you to a fight, essentially?
Our goal is to generate voluntary compliance, and to do so would be to attempt to de-escalate the situation. If de-escalating the situation means by verbalization, do that. Or de-escalate the situation by recusing ourselves from that situation. In the DAP manual, it's called officer override. We override other officers. If we see officers losing control, we tap them out and say, hey, I got this. We can also utilize officer override for ourselves. If we see ourselves losing control, we can recuse ourselves from that situation, or we're supposed to recuse ourselves from that situation.
Lieutenant McGills, the testimony yesterday was during this second portion of this interview, we had Lieutenant Kavanaugh, Secretary Pat Jacks, and Caballero there. Was there a need for Detective Gomez to go back and insert himself into a situation where someone is yelling at him to fight with him?
No, I don't think Detective Gomez should have went back in that room based on my assessment of the video capture. He's not trying to harm himself. There's no risk of suicidation. There's no risk of him accessing a weapon. And according to the information I reviewed and the time frames given on the video, there's a 2-minute approximate break of time in the video. I don't understand what 2, 5, 10, 15 minutes meant to wait, or to even have Detective Gomez recuse himself and not go back into that room, especially when Mr. Love is screaming specifically at him about the previous force action that happened with Detective Gomez.
Now, we had talked about the legitimate uses of force and when force cannot be used at the beginning of your testimony. We indicated that, or you indicated that you can't use force to punish someone, to retaliate, to show who's boss, to teach a lesson. What is your opinion with regard to Detective Gomez going in there for a second time with regard to those issues?
With the absence of exigent circumstances, I can't find a legitimate reason why he would go back in there. Based on previous testimony from Detective Gomez, because he was my prisoner, because there was a time frame. To me, this smacks of arrogance, it smacks of pride, or a challenge of his authority as a police officer. But he goes back in there anyway.
So, in your opinion, there's no legitimate purpose for Detective Gomez to go back in that room during that second interview?
Well, the purpose, according to Detective Gomez, was to go take his prisoner out. But any Milwaukee police officer, another law enforcement officer, or a group of officers, and there was officers standing nearby, could have accomplished that purpose. And should have accomplished that purpose, sans Detective Gomez.
Okay, do you want to go back to the viewing of the videotape then?
Sure.
We'll play it, you can tell me when to, we'll play it in slow, you want me to play it in slow motion?
Why don't you play it at full speed again?
Okay, I'm going to play it without volume, is that okay?
No, I need the volume on this too.
Okay.
Please.
You want to see a nigga man down, nigga? Sit down. Shut your bitch ass up, nigga. Come take these handcuffs off and do my handcuffs off, nigga. You punk ass nigga. You want to see a nigga on off without my two fight, nigga? And I ain't shit, bitch ass nigga. Better sit the fuck up, nigga.
The voice being heard, it initially says, sit down, and then says, sit your fucking ass down, or some kind of expletive in there. Again, if the goal is to generate voluntary compliance, how is escalating verbalization and then throwing in a profanity, and granted, it's a profanity, but it can incite a person who's already incited. Why do that? Like, and that was at 0015, 15 seconds. Play. Pause. At 0027, immediately preceding that, you can see Mr. Love, it appears that his anger, his aggression, his angst is directed directly towards Detective Gomez, reinforcing my opinion that why did Detective Gomez have to be there in the first place? Play.
I ain't shit, man. Look at that kid like snap on his nose. Nigga just leave me alone off and up. Look at my face. You see that? You see that? And all that, but I ain't running up handcuffs. Handcuffs. Nigga, man, what's that wrong with you? I ain't handcuffs.
Okay, at that point, his angst is again directed towards Detective Gomez, so he has to act. He has to do something to restrain him. But again, he should have never been there in the first place. So he has to take some type of physical force action. He goes,
Can I stop you, Lieutenant McGill? Instead of using he, can you specify which person you're talking about? Because it's very confusing.
I apologize, Detective Gomez. Detective Gomez has to use some type of force option to restrain Mr. Love at this point. He's forced to. So he takes his arm and he places it across, Detective Gomez places his forearm across the neck of Mr. Love to try and do a head stabilization against the wall. Play, and that's at 0049. Pause. At 0049, that was. And then at 005051, you hear Mr. Love start screaming. And from what it appears to me, it appears that the hands are not cupped of Detective Gomez. The fingers are splayed across Mr. Love's face with his index finger curled under. And we'll see in the next picture or frames or two, if you want to hit play. Pause. He says at 005354 approximately something about something in my eye. A person is screaming and hollering. There's something in my eye, and your hands are across the face. I think as an officer delivering force, it'd be a fair assumption that my hands are probably in a place that they shouldn't be. So again, that starts off at 0051. We're now at 0055. Please hit play. Pause. Actually, if you can go back a few more frames.
Sure.
And we're